anime, communism. Alright, now that I've lost 90% of my audience, hello and welcome! Good to see you all for a game that combines the Cold War and anime in a style that I actually quite find appealing. This is not the type of game that I would normally play, because it just seems so layered in text, and it definitely is a story-based game, but an interesting one that reminds me a lot of Ace Combat 4 Shattered Skies with its anime-like art style. I can't call this anything else other than that, because it's not cartoon, but it's kind of more of a, like a point-and-click game, but yet it reminds me a lot of some shows that I saw on the Sci-Fi Channel growing up that had this same art style too, and that I later saw in, again, Ace Combat 4, Shattered Skies. Well, this game takes place in the Cold War in Eastern Europe, in a nation that didn't exist and doesn't exist, but they want you to basically pretend to be any of the fill-in-the-blank nations, Eastern Germany or East Berlin or wherever, and you can fill in the blanks to basically just try to connect it however you'd like. As it says on Steam, by the way, for the One Spirit demo, that is the name of the game, by the way, One Spirit, it says that in a world torn by a Cold War that never ended, a young man returns to his home to face the reality of a dying nation and its consequences for his loved ones. Live the despair of a lost generation in One Spirit, an alternate history, coming-of-age visual novel with breathtaking art style. Alright, well, I don't mind that. I don't mind a good story, even if there's not a lot of gameplay. But these games typically have you, choosing text dialogue and also picking up items and, combining things and doing whatever. So, don't know what to expect, but I hope it's a good time. And I hope you all enjoy the video. Thanks again for subscribing. Thanks for liking and hanging out and just being generally awesome on the channel. Alright, let's jump in to our first look at One Spirit. Here we go. Gray skies above eastern Sisika. That was the oldest memory I kept. That endless blur. A mantle of nothing above the earth. Above the drab, dark Sisikan soil. There it was, through the window. Through the dust layered across the glass, the fields, the plains, the forests and their depths, stretching far, stretching wide, reaching for the mountains, their valleys and their fogs that fill them to the brim. Gray skies above eastern Sisika, and gray lives under them we lived. I had hours to kill as the bus chased after the next sign. Entertainment could be found in the racing asphalt under, in the patterns of the window's dust and the textures of its rust. Fingers twitching every 2 exact seconds, nervous signs of nervous struggle. I gazed at the countryside for novelty and only found monotony. Landscapes of nothingness I learnt to call home. I must have started thinking, reflecting, somewhere in those moments. After 2 hours on the way home, my distractions were evaporating. I'd left my body in that dead-like, idle state. Back home to family. Back home to childhood. Back home to where nothing remains. The town used to be insignificant. A village in the interior. A damp cradle by the border. It had too quickly become a city in the making. Urbanization couldn't hide its rural nature, however. Culture resists to be born. The way cities morph rapidly, from their shining adverts to their hard layouts, points to their boneless body. But towns where modest communities resist decay can preserve their backbone, their mode of life. Nivliolsk was a mode of life I'd learned to dislike, to reject. When I left for the city, I abandoned all friendships and ties to the town. I made myself a rural exile and played the role of an urban refugee in Svetograd national capital. My mother had wanted my sister, Lada, to finish her last years of secondary education in Svetograd. From there, university would be one step away. The road was paved for her, and for her alone. And yet she convinced my mother to have me go in her stead. That once I completed mandatory education, I'd be a better investment. You shine brighter, Lada told me. And so I cherished the thought. Believed I was worth the wait. I trusted the world to convince me I was someone. One of us had to go. He, her, or me. Me or her. And God knows I didn't want a choice. Numbness is to life what bitterness is to bones. The future was an event to wait for in silence. We know change awaits somewhere, but we choose to stand still. We know we could someday be something, but we prefer to rot. We treat life with the same disrespect we treat ourselves, and we let time wash over us like the waves upon the coast. I agreed to their plan. Secondary education to the capital, another step towards nowhere. I asked no questions, posed no resistance. 3 years in the urban sprawl, 3 years to atone. Even now, I look back at them blurrily. Sameness and apathy shred time like razors over paper, leaving only scattered memories. In 2 years, I'd made nothing to salvage, nothing to cherish. Meanwhile, the calls between Lotta and me once daily became weekly. Soon months would pass without a reminder of where I'd come from. I'd spend the summers there for academic extra far from town. The preceding Christmas had been canceled when my mother left the country for work. Lotta spent her first years as an adult alone. I celebrated my 18th in a cramped rented room far away, and she and I grew distant, colder, stranger. I'd lost track of her life as I went. Making ends meet had become her whole purpose. Hopping from job to job, struggling month after month, all for my sake and my sake alone. July the 1st, 2003. A letter in the mailbox, sealed and certified. It bore my name. A formal rejection from Svetograd National University. A cold, hard bullet. I don't recall having much of a reaction. I didn't finish reading the letter either. You've got the potential, Lotta would say. It's only uphill from here, she'd swear. Her words were sound like gospel. The type of encouragement that is silence and false at once. I called Lotta in the evening after I had begun to finally fall apart. In the mirror, I saw a stranger I loathed. First came the anger, then the tense rebel fears. I'd finally learned what anguish was. And in anguish, I reached for the phone after months adrift. Lotta spoke to my mother in my name. I couldn't muster the courage to address her directly. She says you should come back home, she relayed to me. You can't stay in the city for much longer, can you? I paid off what remained of my rent debt with the savings I had been given for university, and I boarded the train to the province of mine. Moldensky Pirif, the easternmost region of the country. From the regional station, an old bus passes every 4 hours heading for Nivliosk, line 18 from somewhere to nowhere. The hours I spent on that bus I poured into daydreaming about days I didn't know I missed. There's a deep sense of nostalgia about our past selves when we have become something we recognize no longer. The past can be a bunker 10 feet under the present. We decorate it with memories we suddenly love. We return to the child we once were as if we failed them to a point they wouldn't understand. Whoa. An abrupt gesture by the driver signaled the end of the line. Hauling a backpack and 2 worn cases, I ventured out. What the hell? Blindfolded babies. I felt the winds of the northern ridges against my skin, the cold breath of eastern Sisika. I landed on a street I thought forgotten. The shells of factories stood tall, weathered, empty and emptied. Nivliosk never had managed much of an industry. Agriculture fed the town. On a soulless wall through a mural had been drawn. It had many colors as the eye could catch. Radiant, energetic. A canvas of cracked bricks and humid concrete. It was almost magically preserved despite it all. In Svetograd, vandalism would prey on beauty. Municipal workers would bury it all under the thick paint either way. On that wall, however, a mural had been oddly respected, oddly revered. It had no signature or title. I recognized the faces from the history books I'd waste hours on. The unholy saints of Sisika. Some parts of it seemed historical, some symbolic. I would have stared for longer if the cold hadn't been biting my skin. I knew where I could find it if it lived on a long enough to see me again. I left it to its own luck. And so I headed back home, following the same route I'd always known. Country roads. Take me home. To a place. Minor changes left and right weren't enough to impress me. Nevlyansk was still its solitary self behind it all. The residential area was just a bit livelier. Just a bit more human. Crude concrete giants hollowed by windows and glass. Tenements and apartments built to last. Gray, grayer than the sky. A few more cracks on their surface, perhaps. Nothing more had changed. I had no reason to believe the people inside had changed much either. I turned the corner to the street of mine, that far-reaching road splitting before the building left abandoned. Walking down the pavement, I saw her standing by the entrance of the apartment block, no different from the rest. Neither called out to the other. We stood face to face. She moved to take me in her arms, unsure if I'd accept. Years after, I'm glad we held each other. For half a minute we did. Oh, that must be his sister. Years after, I'm glad we did. Wow, and now we finally begin. So that is our sister, Lada. Oh, we have notes here as well. Before we begin, let's take a look. Ah, interesting. Notes on the Cold War 1945 to, well, the present of 2003 in this game. Okay, we have a lot of information about all sorts of different timelines here. 1919 to 1947, 48 to 85, 85 to 45 to... Okay, so there's a lot of lore here. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff we can learn about and or possibly collect. Okay. Well, we'll see how that comes into play later. Line 18, huh? Did you look up the schedule or just wait on me? The bus only passes by 4 times a day. Not hard to remember, huh? Nope. I think the route hasn't changed in ages. The bus hasn't either. Yep. If you hadn't taken the afternoon ride, you would have had to go for the midnight one. Yeah, no. I'll pass. Figures. I wouldn't want to wander around here that late either. This place is already deserted by 9. She nudged my arm with a half-closed fist. What? You fallen in love with the city's crowds now? Can't fall in love with that type of life. It's as noisy as it gets, too. Hey, I'd be willing to go deaf to get out of here myself. Not even kidding. You'd be disappointed. It's overrated. I mean, you were always fond of town. Deep down below. Real deep down below, though. Fond of town? Sure. Of the people in town? Not so much. Damn. 3 years and you still hold that grudge. I'd be willing to bet you'd hold it even more than I do. Yeah, kinda right. You probably got that from me. Well, it was you who advised me to find a job someday and return only for Christmas. I was being ironic. Kind of, sort of, not really. Honestly, that's what I would have done myself. Right. Well, if you're done being ironic, then maybe we could head upstairs. It's windy here. Yeah, you're right. I hope you brought the right clothing, by the way. They say this winter's going to be hotter. I miss snow. Kind of. Nevlyansk only has 2 seasons. Moody and moodier. She took one of my 2 cases by hand. She made an effort to drag it to the ground floor. Her eyes pierced right through me as she went. What the hell have you packed in your luggage? Just clothing. It isn't that heavy. I carried it just fine. Tough guy being tough. You want to carry them just fine too? I don't mind, honestly. You're lucky I'm the polite type. As polite as it gets. She dropped the case right before the entrance, crossing her arms. She held back a thinly veiled laugh. Didn't say a word until I did. What's up? Oh, waiting for you to go up now. Not sure what you're talking about. I mean, that sarcasm was uncalled for, so I'm expecting your apologies any minute now. Really now? You know I was just messing with you. You gotta right your wrongs. Fine, I guess. Sorry? Nope, not enough. You've got to do it the right way. The honorable way. You can't be meaning it. Totally am. There's one true way to apologize. You know that. You're a total kid. No one's forcing you to. Not that anyone's forcing me to let you in either. Lada, come on. Waiting. Play along or refuse. Let's play along. Fine, fine. Remind me how it was. Okay. Repeat after me. What, the whole thing? Really? Can't have half an apology. It's cold out here. I said repeat after me. Also raise your hand, no skipping protocol. God, you're the worst. I, Yuri, oh God, oh, that middle name, Danilin. That's not what it says on my ID. Sheesh, work with me, dude. Fine. I, Yuri Danilin, modestly yet truthfully, offer my sincerest atonement. Wait, not atonement. Amendment? What was it again? You don't even remember it yourself? Because I was 13 when I came up with it, dumbass. Oh, forget it. Let's just head in. Okay. We made it inside. Step after step, we approached the first floor. Unlike many of our neighbors, we could live in a relatively modern building. Its design was based off the concrete carcasses from the 60s. No one could deny it wasn't that far off, however. Its materials were at least partly insulating. Only part of our conversations would leak through thin walls. An elevator was a rarity in Sicilian buildings before the mid-70s, too. God willing, the heat during winter would linger on for a while longer. Speaking of heating, most radiators did little more than breeding rust. I could hover my hand over them like two fingers checking for a pulse. I'd feel their feeble heat like a dying man's breath. The lights hardly helped, with their wiring entangled across the walls and their bulbs buried under dust. They'd flicker on windy days. Storms and blackouts could kill off a few, if harsh enough. These buildings were already uncomfortable back in their day. It was a stillborn design from the beginning. Decades unattended simply pushed them to the limit of their decay. Living within their walls, we'd rot away with them. Still remember the place? I spent my whole childhood here. I couldn't just forget. How would I know? City life changes people. At the end of the room, the staircase. Its concrete surface was covered in a thin layer of dust. Any pressure would crack under our feet. Decadence was truly a place to call home. And that reminded me. Wait, the elevator still doesn't work? Who's supposed to fix it? I don't think anyone cares enough to call somebody. If it wasn't working even when I was around, chances are we'll retire before it does, Yuri. For real. What was the word? It's on the tip of my tongue. You mean your apology ritual? Obviously. Why bother? Because I hate it when I forget things. Why do you think it's frustrating to no end? Honestly, I'm not sure I want to remind you, even if I knew. You won't get off the hook that easy. I always find a way. A way to mess with me? A way to find divine justice. Okay, well, that stuff just wasn't annoying ever since you came up with it. You'd make me do it every time you didn't have your way. If I made you do it, it's just because you'd done something to earn it, genius. You once had me do it twice for changing the channel on the TV. Then why did you change it, wise guy? Sheesh. Second floor with our voices already too loud. Because it was my turn. You never really came to respect all that sharing is caring stuff. Excuse you, but as your older sister, it's my right to exert privilege. Must be a law somewhere that says it. I'll check later. You mean your right to be an a-hole? Hey, if you wanted TV priority, you should have chosen to be born earlier. Gotta own up to your bad decisions. We got to the third floor. Home sweet home, huh? Did you guys get the lock fixed yet? It isn't broken, Yuri. It's designed for masterful key wielders. I recall spending a whole half an hour trying to get in one day after school. Right, but you got in. Yeah, after Mom opened it from the inside. Well, feel free to fix it for me, tough guy. Or you can do some work around town to pay for a locksmith. And I think you know exactly what's the best place to find a job around here. Anything but the fields. The fields would do your skin some good. You look pretty pale, man. By that logic, you should be first in line. I already secured my job in retail, but I'm happy with it, thank you. Wait, what retail? You bet. Got hired a few weeks back. You didn't tell me. It's almost as if someone should call more often. Yeah, I know. No biggie. Either way, where are you working at? Constantine's. You can always find work in small businesses in the countryside. Constantine? For real? What? It's a decent job. He'd sell cigarettes and alcohol just to about anyone. The law's going to be all over him any day. Funny, I know, because he sold them to me once. Ooh, oh. Oh, you can actually roll backwards. Oh, that's nice. Oh, if you miss anything, you can go back. That's nice. Let's see. Where were we? Wait, we're going in reverse. Dude, if Constantine ended up in court, selling cigs would be the lesser of his problems. Can any of your comic superheroes beat tax inspection? What? Surely, many of them are rich. Well, Constantine isn't, so yeah. She stopped at our door and fiddled with the key. For a second thought, she halted, turned her head towards me, and raised an eyebrow in curiosity. Wait, you bought alcohol at Constantine's? All my classmates used to. Should have asked me if you had any myself, dumbass. Constantine overprices. She resumed her work on the lock. The key seemed to fit, but the final click was elusive as threading a needle. When she succeeded, she made a visible, earnest gesture of achievement. Yeah, come on in. Be my guest. Ah, we're finally in the house. Just as Lana had said, some things don't change. The same cramped corridor stretching from the door to the living room. The same heaters we couldn't afford to turn on. The same clash between new and old furniture. The same abstract painting on the wall. The same antiques scattered on the shelves and racks. The same door to the balcony we'd leave open to ventilate the house. Even if it filled with cold air, the alternative was to suffocate. The building's walls could tighten their grip with every degree of temperature. Indoors, our jackets compensated for the minor cold. Even the afternoon's light projected the same shadows, that pale shade that would bathe the living room. Lana closed the door behind me. I dropped my luggage and left my backpack by the entrance. I stretched my arms, breathed in, and sighed in exhaustion. I cleaned up a bit before you got here. I know you like things tidy. You haven't seen my room in the city if you think so. You mean you have a messy room now? Since when? Dunno. Just how it is. I'm struggling to believe that right now. Aren't you the same kid who would get mad if Mom messed with his stuff while cleaning? Yeah, that was the type of person. That's the type of person, all right. I had other things to worry about in Svieto. Well, I wish I worried enough not to lose my stuff in the mess here. What's stopping you? Too much effort. Can't complain. You mind if I just unpack later? I'll get to it when I've rested a bit. Sure. You go do your thing. Dinner at 8? Sounds good, yeah. Oh, and I got you something. A tiny surprise. Really now? Yep. I figured you could be feeling a bit low, so I got you something from Constantine's. It's nothing luxurious or anything, but I just thought it might make you feel a bit better. I don't know, though. It was kind of an idea I had on the spot. You didn't have to. You spoil me too much. Hey, bud. My wallet, my rules. I need to know. What is it? Well, where are you hiding it? I left it on your bed. Just take a look whenever. No rush. Do let me know if you like it, though. It has the receipt in the case if you don't. I mean, I wouldn't return it. I'm not that type of person. It's fine if you do, though. I just got it as a little thing to cheer you up. Maybe? Anyway, I should be practicing guitar. Rest a bit, will you? Yeah, thanks, really. I mean, I don't know what it is, but thanks. Yeah, consider it your first welcome home gift. First, you bought more? No, here's your second one. She wrapped her arms around my neck, that chokehold like move I'd learned to love. When she receded, she gripped my shoulders as she spoke. Glad to have you back after so long. Really. Oh, she was trying to do like a ninja move on me? Nice try. Either way, it's practice time for me. If you need anything, you know where to find me. I watched her head into her room without uttering another word. I stood there for a few more seconds, gazed at the luggage, and ran my hand through my hair. Home. All right. So now we kind of get to the game a little bit more. Super, super heavy on lore and story, but that's what you get here. And I don't mind that. These are a lot of games that I grew up with, too, where point and clicks were a thing. Like Myst, for example, which everybody should have tried. Help us find our Nico. Complete with an international number and all sorts of details. It's almost unsettling to look at the photo's eyes. Has Lotta been helping to put up these? Oh yeah, there's like a huge stack of them. Wonder who that is. Oh, we got some medals here. Mom wanted these to be displayed openly for all to see. They're only awarded to fairly large universities, usually in contests hosted for secondary school students. Lotta made it fairly far in most of these, from bronze all the way up to gold. Photos where Dad's still there. Seems like now Mom's gone, Lotta has taken them out of the drawer and put them on display again. Can't say I'd agree. Looks like they got a new TV, and this one doesn't even look secondhand if it is. One of those fancy French models. Looks great on top of the ancient VHS player. Let's see. Bill's notices arrangement. Seems like she's been going through paperwork for months to come, even. Talk about planning ahead. Ah, yeah. Lotta started to keep them here after she ran out of space in her room. They're mostly ancient authors. Some of the editions have Greek text. I used to think Sisychian literature was pretty niche. Anything else? Let's see. There's a pile of them there. What a mess. I can push my finger at any level in the pile and I'll get something different every time. Is this our only pile in the house now? Okay, I think that was everything. Let's go into the kitchen. That's where I'd go. God, even the ear hasn't changed since last time I was in here. We got a microwave, a stovetop, a clothes dryer. We definitely need a bigger one, especially now that I'm around. That wire in the back has helped us deal with the stuff we can't fit for ages. It's either that or leaving the rack in the balcony twice. God, how I hated carrying around this. A stylish photo of Matai Sarga, Patriarch of Svetograd, put up by Mom. Put up by Mom. There should be a period there. God knows how long ago. Or a comma. I sometimes wonder how she'd manage without her faith. Oh, note added. So there's some lore that we've discovered. Nice. Ooh. Travel souvenirs, mostly Mom and Dad's adventures, but also some from Lotta's. I never really stepped outside of Sisica, save for that trip to West Berlin. Oh, they were allowed to go to West Berlin? Oh. Wow, this guy's got some languages. What is this anyway? I think this is a water heater maybe? Or store? I don't know what this is. This would randomly stop working back in the winter of 01. Showering was Russian roulette. This house gets cold as it is. Oh yeah, okay, so it's a hot water heater. For the shower. Wait, where do they shower? Obviously the bathroom, but I mean, like, why does this go into the sink? Whatever. It doesn't matter. Here's some sticky notes. Random scribbles. 124 ARI 5. Val. Question mark and so on. Might ask Lotta about this stuff later, though. It might be Mom's. Okay, I think I got everything. Yeah, if we missed something, it's a demo. We can always come back. Let's go to the balcony. I used to lean at the edge when I was a kid for no specific reason. I recall scaring the hell out of Lotta once. Huh. A young man smoked a cigarette behind the dusty windows of the opposite building's 3rd floor. From the shifting of the shadows behind him, I could tell he wasn't alone. My attention hurried elsewhere when our eyes met. The man's gone through the window. A coat of darkness remains. Oh, I can't go out and see the city? Yuri's room or exit? Well, let's go to Yuri's room. So our name is Yuri. Our sister's name is Lotta. Nice. I closed the door behind me as I went in. Wow, how did you get that poster? It was as tidy as I had left it, perfectly organized by my own hand. Mostly, at least. It seemed Lotta had been taking care of it occasionally, however. It was a memory of my old self, to her as much as it was to me. Through the window, the careless winds, air for a dead room. I could hardly complain about it, however. Our flat had been reformed over and over by completing landlords. Housing in my region was poor, if not remade, and it was hard to remake. Because Mom was gone, I moved to the larger bedroom. At least its walls had a fresher coat of paint, the window some new curtains. The wooden floorboard was unique in the entire house, too. Lana was going to inherit the room, though, not me. She surrendered it like she surrendered all things. All beyond the other side, she said. Across the corridor, I could hear a soft, timid melody coming from the room she was left with. Her 4 square meter cage. Her 4 square meter cage. Her music would resonate from within. The walls would hardly stop it. Every improvisation was lightning in a bottle. She would hastily refuse any audience greater than 2 friends. Her songs bore no name and never were recorded on a sheet. She never once played the same piece twice. In a way, her creation was intimate, present, unrepeatable. It was born for the moment, and it perished with it. Music for the minute, she'd call it. Oh, good. Now we can interact with stuff. Let's see. Let's start left to right. There it is. Good old reliable. Built by Dad himself when he did carpentry. Unlike most his projects, this one turned out all right. Sticky notes. I never even bothered to take these off after I was done with my last school year in Nevdiosk. God, my handwriting was awful back then. There's some books here. But I can't see those. Calendar. It looks like Lana hasn't stopped updating my calendar. Sunday, July the 3rd, 2003. Time passes by so fast when most days feel the same. Bookshelf. Thankfully, I was born just when Western media began to spread here. I'm sort of proud of the stash I built up throughout the years. My parents had to make do with scarce children's literature and sanctioned magazines. Let's see. We got a boombox here. Dad brought it over from West Germany after a business trip like 6 years ago. Lana and I would spend hours at night toying with the frequencies, expecting to find something of interest in the waves. Radio shows sure were weird that late. Maybe I could tune in. Tune into Sisica 1, Radio Y, or turn it off. No, that's fine. What a horrible experience. We sympathize with you on so many levels, honey. There's life after death, though. You'll find a way. No, we promise you, your husband is... Hold on. Hold up. Don't drop the mic. Hold it close. That's right. Cry out. What? Let it all out. The audience know your pain. Make sure it's recorded. Is it recording? Okay, mic's off. Stop crying for a minute. Save it. Save it. Radio Y is getting pretty popular lately. They usually toe the line between pink press and amateur debate. I'm surprised they're allowed to say the stuff they are on air. Not just the government allows it, but the people do. Turn on to Sisica 1. Until further notice, tensions fire up again in the buffer spaces between Eastern Slavonia and Croatia. Wait, what? Is that really? Wow, okay. Like one mate. Wait, is this real? No, that can't be. But Croatia is. Yeah, is that Croatia? Yeah. Following diplomatic outrage over the Serbian veto at the third conference around in Turin, militias have sprung up in the countryside with various local politicians and authorities consenting or overrun. The UN Commission for the Danube was called for order, but the scope is larger. At least 28 Serb deputies in the Bosnian Serb Republic have signed a memorandum against the Eurobloc's diplomatic guidelines, claiming the new territorial arrangement has been designed to topple large Paulites and Free Serb enclaves. The Croat Republic has not shared any information about the Smiria army group's intentions. Soviet General Secretary Roman Yanatov has reaffirmed the neutrality of the Warsaw Pact in the region, however. Mom's reporting somewhere in the Balkans as well, though I'm not sure what she's tracking. This has been around since I was a kid. I recall Sisica moved to support someone's independence there. Half the country had to look up where that place was. We don't know of any wars if a camera hasn't known them first these days. Keep listening. Former Minister Kazimir Adamski has been welcomed today by the U.S. Secretary of Defense Kirkpatrick in the biannual gathering for NATO's Sisican Joint Security Committee. Before his arrival, President Ostinovich has released a short statement claiming honoring what has already been said for a decade is all that's needed. After Sisica's border struggle with Voltsograd People's Republic, it remains clear that government has no intention of summoning international I've lost count of how many times this exact situation has taken place already. Until further notice... Okay, we've already listened to that. Okay, return. Let's see. Thankfully, I was born just when Western... Oh, we read that too. Okay, so the radio, the bookshelf... Oh, wait, I gotta read the poster. On Dead Rising is such a great film. Probably my favorite from the 70s. Too bad it took a decade for it to be on band here. Our bed. Good thing we replaced the old bed. The rest of the furniture. Honestly, they say no bed feels like homes, but it doesn't take much to do better than the one here in Svetograd. Rest up or keep looking around. What is that? Is that a shirt? Huh? I got rid of the plastic bag and rescued the box inside. Oh, this is the gift from our sister. The white plastic case hiding a simple, bright red digital watch. If sold by Constantine, chances were it was cheap manufacturing, but I wouldn't have said it was inexpensive. Lada was good with words. I wouldn't be surprised if she had bargained her way to the final deal. Wear it or ignore wear it. I thanked her before even knowing what it was, surely because I knew I cared for the little gift. It was the will behind it that managed to steal a grim from me. I pushed it past my wrist as I often did, rituals that matter. He wears his watch really high? I just gave up on the idea of writing poetry when I moved to the capital. Another trial, another error. Anything else? Alright, I guess we can rest up now. Nap time. I took off my shoes and left my jacket on the far end of the bed. Finding a comfortable resting position was always a challenge for me. Facing the abstract blank whiteness of the wall, my eyelids surrendered soon after. To the sound of that distant guitar of hers, I focused on my breath, a naive but effective distraction. A rhythm pacifies the mind, structures it, channels it. Pace is to thought like a dropper to water. My mind idled until my body did. And so did the afternoon's premature end. Wow, damn, the writing in this is so poetic for just, like, literally saying, hey, you went to sleep. That's crazy. Oh, now it's nighttime. Must be 8. I woke up hours later, freezing. The back of my head ached softly as I stood up. Through the window, the mystical aura of the streetlights was glowing night. Lada's watch claimed it was a little past 9. Uh-oh. We overslept. A laptop? I didn't expect to see that. I could hear someone rummaging through the cupboards in the kitchen, the sound of plates and silverware being moved around. Lada was strafing from side to side, handling pans and watching the fire. Nothing else for us to see here. I would like to look at that laptop, but I guess not. Okay, we gotta go to the kitchen. Look who's finally alive again. How was the nap? By the way, I remember the word. It was atonement from the start. I was just being forgetful. Oh, don't expect me to be doing it now, though. I'm not. You can get away with this one. I'm a benevolent ruler. You've lost it. Golden rule, don't mess with the cook. Have you managed to fry an egg without burning your arm yet? Alright, that's just punching down, man. Alright, yeah, ceasefire. Alright, ceasefire accepted. So, about the nap. Forgot about the window. Woke up freezing. Great stuff. Typical you. Are you feeling any better, though? Sleeping always helps my mood. Yeah, I guess. You know my tired face. All too well. Plus, those bus trips suck. Word. Word. They could bother to pave the roads properly and stuff. I always get off the bus with a hell of a headache. You were always one to have headaches, though. Probably, but 9 out of 10 times I got one was because of the last night's studying. God. Yeah, I've had to pull those as well. Not as much as you did, though. Yeah, well, you didn't need the scholarships. I did. Not like they solved that much, either. Nope. The state's fairly cheap these days. She fell silent for a few seconds as if pondering. I moved to rescue the conversation. Ever thought about it? About what? About studying again in university, I mean. Or elsewhere. You know, we don't have the resources for that anymore, dude. Yeah, I know that. That's why I'm asking whether you thought about it. Honestly, not really. I used to at first, but I dropped the idea. Plus, as I said, there's no real way of pulling it off anymore. You used to be so excited about it back then, though. Classics, right? Yeah, officially classical studies, but yeah, as well as I had a hopeful kid back then. I was a hopeful kid back then, but it wasn't right there. As if I had left for Svieto, chances are you would have been the one to end up working at 18 or 16. What's so bad about that? I mean, you had the potential to enter university and make the most out of it, man. That's something. And yet, we're both right here now. Yuri, the plan was right for the time. You study, I work. We do what we do best to make ends meet. That was the story. If it didn't work out, whatever, there'd be options. Such as? Well, I don't know. I haven't got any goals for myself, so it's up to you. You can try your hand at the access exams next year, for instance. I didn't think that would work out. Alright. Well, I don't know. We'll come up with other options, Yuri. We'll see. At that point, her attention was already elsewhere. Anyway, what's cooking? Schnitzels. I learned the recipe a while back. I've been getting better at them. I would have helped you out if you'd told me. Like you're ever responsive when someone wakes you up. Yeah, but it's one of those things you say just to keep a good image. Can't fool the person you were raised with, big guy. They look good, though. Yeah, Dad's recipe. He used to be great at these. They're not exactly as good, but I think they're fine, mostly. I can't recall the last time he cooked anything for us, Lotta. Our Shiri. Just the truth. For real. Let's just not. It was just a comment. You made one too, so no possible comparison. So I'm not having this again. You got here today. Take it easy. Back down, press on the photos. What photos? This is a different colored option. Let's go with this one. I mean, I noticed you put his photo back up in the living... Oh, that one. I just don't get it. It's just me here. I have a word on what decoration I want. I know you may not like it, but what's the problem? Well, I don't think Mom would like it either. So, she isn't here right now. She sure didn't consult with us when she looked them up somewhere. We were kids. That was... what was there to consult? Well, as an adult, I can make my own choice as to what... to bring them back, can't I? You do you. I'm not trying to pick up a fight or anything. I'm just still sort of surprised you still like him that much. I just said it was his recipe. The photos. We agreed to let the past rest. I didn't agree to ban his memory. I sure did. Well, then that's on you. We're both in this. He's your father too, Yuri. Not the best, but your dad nonetheless. You don't choose your family, you just love them because that's what family is supposed to do. Love? Look, we've been through this. We're not having this conversation. God. Alright. Don't get upset. Sorry for the comment. It's fine. This always pops up. I'm sorry. You don't have to I said I'm sorry. I recall how she turned her eyes to me in that moment. He kept her hands busy while the air cleared of tension. Now, this is what I came to understand as being a stranger. A foreigner in my own home, around my own people, within my own life. I'd lost something along the way. We'd lost something along the way. Hey, like it? Her smile took me by surprise. Like what? The watch right there. It's a nice fit. Oh, yeah. Seems like Konstantin has stepped up his game, huh? He's an odd fella, you know that. You never know what you're going to get. I don't really feel like anything else there would have been appealing or useful to you, so I just went with the safest option. It's great, Lotta. I mean, I already had mine, but it was an analog. Welcome to the future, then. Didn't you have an analog, though? I recall seeing you with one last Christmas. Yeah, but this one was a gift from someone. I prefer digital. A gift from someone, you mean? For a second, I too smiled like a child. Whoa. Who said anything about that, dude? Come on. I'm just inquiring. And I'm just telling you I've got no time for romances. Just like I got you a watch. A friend got me mine. Right. And that friend isn't special whatsoever. He did it for no reason at all. He did it because he wanted. That's it. Ah, so it is a he. Oh my god. A special he? A regular he. A he who would like to be a special he, then. By what? Plus, it's a pretty nice watch. Definitely not a tiny thing. It was his before. Come on. He didn't buy it. That's even more meaningful, isn't it? Man, you're just insufferable. Her laugh was almost nervous. Okay, here you go. She grabbed a set of silverware from a nearby drawer and handed it over to me. I bestow upon you the honor of preparing the table. Don't disappoint me now, will you? Oh, this is an awkward meal. Mashed potatoes? Damn, that actually looked good. A few minutes, dinner was ready and served. We sat opposite to each other, with the tiny table standing between us. It would hardly be enough for a family of 3. For 2 of us, though, it was a tight fit. So does the silence mean it's good? Yeah, sure, I missed the homemade meals for a long time, really. What, there's no good restaurants near you over there? There were, but everybody had dinner, can have dinner out frequently, you know. I mostly went with the pre-cooked meals and stuff. Oh, not those, come on. What? They get the job done just fine. They're unhealthy as it gets, plus they've got more weird chemicals in them than actual nutrients. No wonder you're missing home. Come on, they're not that unhealthy. Well, they may as well be if you have them every day. Did you forget how to cook? No, not really. I just didn't feel like it. Didn't feel like surviving? Don't put it that way. I just mean I didn't really bother that much. Well, you should. Say I left right now, you'd need to know how to handle yourself. I would be able to, though. I mean it. You're going to have to be alone someday, and you'll have to be prepared. I can be responsible, Lotta, sort of. There was an odd, solemn tone in her words I couldn't understand. You better be. You gotta be ready to rely on yourself. A brief silence stood between us. Her usual tone returned. Also, no more pre-cooked meals. Oh, come on, some are good. Diet, Yuri. Diet. My weight's perfectly normal. It isn't about your weight, it's about your habits. Opening up packaged food and shoving it in the microwave doesn't count. Plus, you look way skinnier than before you left. I mean, it's been 3 years, plus fast metabolism or something. Maybe, but I still think you should eat more and healthier. For starters, my shift at Constantine starts at 8 and ends at 5 or so. That means lunch is all up to you. Oh, so total freedom, huh? No, I do the groceries here, so I won't be bringing any junk home, not on my watch. Oh, not even on Fridays? You know, Fridays were kind of our thing. Fine, maybe I can bring something nastier on Fridays, but otherwise we're keeping a healthy lifestyle, no buts. Since when are you so obsessed with fitness? Mensana in Corpe sano? Come again? A healthy mind in a healthy body, dumbass, it's Latin. I thought you were conjuring the devil there for a moment. Anyway, all I'm saying is that you gotta get back in the habit of eating well, that's all. Fine then. Also, I don't want you locked up in your room either. I want you under the sun and all. I don't look that pale, come on. If it isn't about your skin, it isn't about your skin, dude. Staying indoors alone for hours on end won't do you any good. Yeah, right, but what is there to do out there? Old friends? I've got no friends here, you know that. Not anymore, at least. Not even Lev? Oh, Lev's studying abroad in London. Haven't heard from him in ages. Right, what about the guy, Ludwig? You know, the weed guy? Wait, you know he's a dealer? I know everything there is to know about this town, buddy. Please, tell me you haven't ordered from him. That's bad stuff. I haven't. I don't do drugs, you know that. Isn't he around, though? No, he's trying out for the Air Force or something. That guy is piloting a plane? Jesus. That's what I said. Alright, so no one else is around? No one. Well, you gotta do something then. A sport, maybe? Such as... Well, basketball's popular around town, and you're a tall guy. You used to be so into it when you were a kid. Yeah, but I dropped it for a reason, remember? It isn't about balling, it's about the people who do. You don't need to be a part of their gang to play with them, do you? I feel like you do, and I really want to stay away from those guys. Fine, fine. How about, I don't know, going for a walk? Something chill and easy. I was planning to stroll around town anyway. See what's new and all. Then just do that for a bit every day, or go for a jog even. You can head up the mountain, for instance. Maybe. We'll see. I feared being transparent at all times, as if every word hidden was somehow written on my face. Cruising it like a scar. I suppose Lotta had eyes to read that kind of murmur. I knew because of their gleam. That dim, dwindling gleam. Shining shyly, respecting my silence and hesitance, I knew you wanted to talk to me, Lotta. But the walls we built could last longer than our goodwill. They'd remain even as we needed to escape them, even when we knew they kept us miles apart. Silence was our shelter. Dissimulation was our defense? So many new words I'm learning. At every day's end, we knew our natures would hide. We knew we were thought criminals surviving each other's gaze. But in your eyes, I saw myself, the mirror that was alive and blinking, the self I hesitated to address, the truths I buried under my skin. Because of your eyes reminded me of decay, they kept me from drifting entirely. Your gaze could save a life. I know you saved mine. Whoa. So it is down to this again, I thought. The sleepless idling. I had woken up for a second time. Closing my eyes 30 minutes before had only brought me to open them again. I turned my head to the window, where the dark seemed to reside. The street light nearby awoke my pupils to fire to skin. I was willing to bargain. Idle to sleep or take on the night. Ooh. Let's take on the night. Nights. I've always wondered why they are so prevalent in my life. I'd wake up halfway through them, drowsy and hesitant, and there was only silence to explain it. In nights like those, the hours seemed like liquid fleeting more so than in a day. Intermittent sleep meant leaping from 2 a.m. to 3 to 5 to 7 and somehow to 10. While waiting for another leap, the blankness of the ceiling was a mental abyss. My body could ache and my mind slow to a crawl, but I'd stay awake, waiting to wake up the daylight. I'd wander around rooms, talk to myself in a murmuring monologue, and then back to bed to try again. My Walkman could occasionally drown me in sound. I'd got used to the sharp static of its headset. Because of the radial solitary freedom, nights felt like limbo. They seemed paralyzed, space remained still, and no people could share it with me. Nights were a back room, only I could visit them. A back room I kept secret. Speaking softly was the crucial part. After all, the words leaked through the walls at home, into other rooms of ours and those of others. Niliovisk demanded a certain discretion, a certain caution. Svetlograd, you could anonymize yourself in the crowds. The urban individual lives under bombardment, suggestive images on ads, roaring sounds in the streets. Constant connection and transport, constant coexistence in public spaces, and yet because of this saturation, the individual itself is more unsupervised, freer. Bodies and words flow like water in a stream. But Nivliorsk watches, listens at all times. It knows who walks its streets. Speak up and you'll be heard. Be seen and you'll be known. Tightly knit towns are widely watched prisons. The objects of cities is the mass. The object of towns is the individual. This is why cities care about types of people, whereas towns care about their names. Cities maintain order and peace through mass organization, rationalized planning. Towns maintain order and peace through social pressure, local integration. Oh, wow, that's very true. Who the hell wrote this? Freaking big brain, dude. Both birth different individuals, different freedoms, and different cultures. It may seem exaggerated to say it, but I believe a whisper more when in town. We need discretion like we need air. And the anxiety of losing either panics us. And that's why nights remain my limbo. Neliosk needed to not see me, not hear me, not know me. In the modern world, to be free is to be a chameleon during the day and a ghost at night. On with it then, I thought. I stood up and walked to my desk. Across the window, nothing and no one. The dead silence of a too early morning. I slowly pulled the last drawer to the right, under a few worn notebooks from courses I'd forgotten. Salvation. A pack of cigarettes meant for the occasion. Vierny nicotine was a brand for people too poor to smoke. For people who cling on to the nicotine nights. I wasn't that far from the stereotype. Whoever could breathe in that smoke likely couldn't care less about it either. I bought those in Christmas of 2002. 6 months later, they were still there, unsummoned, but not forgotten. I took the lighter with me, put on my jacket too. Windy nights were the best to set a cigarette free. the breeze we'd use to ventilate the house could carry its trace away. I kept testing the flame. Like a horse vice, it hardly stayed strong. Voice? Was that voice? Oh, like a hoarse voice, it hardly stayed strong. I kept testing the flame. Even enough for a momentary blaze, though. Enough for a minor burn at the tip of the only pastime for the night. I let the smoke climb past the window and into the night. If the smell latched onto the walls as it used to, Lotta would know. Not that I could hide from her. It had more to do with the deeper fact that if I confronted her, I'd confront myself. Conversations force us to address what we say and do, therefore what we think, therefore what we leave unthought, therefore what we are. I heard a distant door creak open. I hadn't closed mine. A quick glance, and she would know. Footsteps, 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 like the coming of the judge into a courtroom, staring down at the accused in demand of a stance. Guilty per admission, innocent until proven otherwise. This seems more like his personality. Certain things need to be buried, even if the earth will someday bring them back up. Severance is the greatest comfort. And so that cigarette fell forward, spiraling as it neared the pavement. A little star of burning paper by the sidewalk. Lotta walked into the room with her eyes wide awake. She appeared to be dressed to leave. Can't sleep? Not tonight. Must be because it's a different bed and all. Different place. She grinned slightly. Oh, it's your own house and bed. Get used to it. Need some getting used to, yeah. Changes, you know. Changes, yeah. Looking back, I wonder if she had anticipated me being awake. I didn't mean to say it like I've, forgotten about being here. I know you haven't. Relax. If you're here, it means you know it's home for you, for us. Do you sometimes miss the old house? Wild the questions all of a sudden. It just occurred to me the garden would have been a great place to spend this type of night. Remember when we'd light up the candle things in the summer? Oh yeah, they smell terrible too. Insecticide isn't really meant to set any mood, is it? Now, don't remind me of the bugs. It really's been a while since I've heard or seen the place, you know? I've wondered what has happened to it before. It's been demolished. Demolished? Yeah, I suppose the bank handled that. It's a place for greenhouses now or something like that. There wasn't even ever anything in the area anyway. There was us. The stare of resignation. Yeah. Anyway, are you going somewhere? For a walk? Yeah, my shift starts soon. You said 8 in the morning, though. Yeah? It's 5 or so. I'll just be wandering around for a bit, breakfast after while and off to Constantine's. You should eat something before you go. Well, best to do it while fasting, just a preference. Still dark outside. I keep to the central areas. Do you do this often now? Every day. We can wander together or stay safe. We can wander together. We can go for it if you'd like, late night strolling. Yeah, no, it's fine. I prefer to go alone. It's a bit private time for me. You mean like it's personal? Sure. No problem. Go ahead. Don't let it be long until you head to bed. You'll be tired as hell tomorrow. I'll fix my schedule, I promise. A grain of salt is best I can do for that promise. Leave already. We both chuckled for an instant. What a hell of a demo. The cigarette's fire had died out. Oh, now it's morning. Great. Oh, I woke up the next day to the sound of a car passing by. The night had been uneasy. Dried mouth and lips, hands rubbing against the corner of my eyes. The sun bathed my face in a bleak morning light. Silence inside and outside. Peace and quiet in the style of a graveyard. Bedsheets struck like a second skin to my bones. The scent of my own body in every inch of cloth. Minutes passing like their death means nothing. An hour poured into heavy, turns into interludes of sleep cut short. Daylight called my head as dizzied from the sloth. Feet on the ground like half my body could crumble and fall. Days were gifts I could politely refuse. Getting up was a visceral act of faith. Wow. Crazy. Well, we're about out of time, so thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Goodbye, everyone. Take care, and have a great day.